Well, Philadelphia took care of business as we expected they might today against Pittsburgh, which sets the stage for the rematch coming up on Saturday in Baltimore. It's the Ravens and Steelers, and it's round 2 of the rivalry, this time in Baltimore. Welcome inside the channel. I'm Bobby Trosset, and as always, this is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. Of course, Ravens improved to 9-5 with a 35-14 boat race of the New York Giants. Steelers drop a game, and now as a result, here's where things stand going into week 16, and you already know it's going to be an instant classic, you would think, if it lives up to the bill coming up on Saturday. If the Ravens win, they would pull into a first-place tie with the Steelers with 2 weeks remaining in the regular season. Pittsburgh now 10-4 with a loss today, again, to the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Steelers win, they clinch the AFC North. So that's what's at stake going into week 16. The final in Philly, Eagles take care of the Steelers 27-13. They've won 10 straight games, have the Philadelphia Eagles, and they silenced all that national noise about the passing, about the A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts saga, and so on and so forth. So that is where things stand. It's going to be Ravens Steelers. It's going to be on Fox, and it's going to be a classic coming up on Saturday. As for the Ravens and Lamar, absolutely vaulted himself back into the MVP conversation. He was exceptional today, 21 for 25, 290 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, yet another Jackson 5. That's the 6th career game where he's tossed 5 passing touchdowns. And oh, by the way, why not 65 rushing yards just for good measure? It was a historic day for number 8 as well. 80% completion percentage, 250 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no picks, and 50 rushing yards. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to hit these minimums. Again, minimums, not what he finished with, but minimums in a game. I know that the odds-on favorite, the betting favorite, is Josh Allen for NFL MVP right now. Lamar's absolutely put himself back in that conversation. And former Pittsburgh Steeler Bryant McFadden, he spoke with conviction earlier today about why it's absolutely Lamar. He doesn't care about Buffalo's record. He doesn't care about the odds in the sports books. We'll get to that in just a second. Lamar is the first player with 3+ passing touchdowns and 50+ rushing yards in the first half in the last 5 years. The last player to do it, just 2019 MVP Lamar in week 12. He rewrites the record books time and time again, and the precision passing was on full display this afternoon. Versus zone, electric. 17 of 19 for 243 yards, 4 touchdowns. And you go on, the Next Gen Stats looks at this in depth. And his passing chart is variety driven, it's plentiful, and it was impactful really in every part of the field. 10+ yard throws in the first half, 4 for 5, 93 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no picks, and a perfect passer rating of 158.3. He almost made you forget the disastrous way this game started with a fumble that was recovered by the Giants on the opening possession. That's how good he was. You almost forget that happened because it was a non-factor in the game. The most games with 5+ touchdown passes since 2019 is led by Lamar league-wide with 6. I just referenced that stat. The next closest is Patrick Mahomes with 4. By the way, he is week to week with an ankle injury, so that's obviously notable. But yeah, more touchdowns than incompletions for Lamar. Not a bad day for number 8 in year 7, and now potentially going after his 3rd MVP award. And if you look at the numbers, look at what he's going to enter week 16 with and compare those as I go along to his first 2 MVP seasons. Right now, he has over 3,500 passing yards. In 2023, he had over 2,900 total. In 2019, he had over 2,600. Again, this is his MVP seasons in total versus this season through 13 games. Now, what I should say is this is actually technically the numbers that I'm sharing with you right now are through 14 games, but he's still got more to tally on. He's having a video game-like night and a video game-like season. 34 touchdowns, 3 picks, 743 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. He's 2 touchdown passes away from tying his career high. And former Pittsburgh Steeler Bryant McFadden spoke glowingly not only of Lamar, but where he should stand right now in the MVP race. Listen to him.
Do to tighten that MVP conversation a bit?
Well, I felt like, and me and you, we've talked about this conversation week in and week out. Josh Allen is the odds favorite right now, but individually speaking, let's keep it real. If you were to compare the numbers for Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, this is nothing to compare. Lamar Jackson has been 10 times better than Josh Allen. Josh Allen has had a few moments, right? You can go back to the Bills versus Chiefs game, the lateral. He's had some moments, but look at the moments that Lamar Jackson has been able to put forth. Look at how dominant he's been from the start of the season to currently now in the month of December. Lamar Jackson has been, his numbers right now actually have been better than what he did a year ago at this point when he won the award. So what are we talking about? I mean, you have to be real. I understand the overall team record plays a big part, but when you talk about just the dominance that we've seen from Lamar Jackson, he's been the most dominant quarterback in the National Football League. And if you were asking me, Joe, who should be the favorite right now, today, it should be Lamar Jackson. And I felt that way before today's matchup against the New York Giants because he's been outstanding when you look at his numbers currently compared to what he's done in years past when he brought home the MVP.
Former Pittsburgh Steeler Bryant McFadden speaking with an emphatic tone there about Lamar. And look at the graphic that's attached to that soundbite. The most games with 5 passing touchdowns and no picks in NFL history. Oh, Lamar's just creeping up there with 2 of the greats, Tom Brady and Drew Brees. So elite company yet again. And how about Bryant McFadden standing 10 toes down for Lamar? We'll get to Josh in just a second because, again, he will continue to be, I'm sure, the betting favorite, especially after hanging 48 the way the Bills just did today on the road in Detroit. But he was quoted for saying the following: if you were to compare the numbers for Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, there's nothing to compare. Lamar has been 10 times better than Josh. What are we talking about? He's been the most dominant quarterback in the National Football League. We know there is something to do with voter fatigue. We know that win-loss record and where you stand in the playoff picture absolutely is a part of the equation. And right now, the Bills are comfortably in the 2nd overall seed right now, still chasing after Kansas City, trying to keep pace with what the Chiefs are doing on a weekly basis. As for Josh Allen individually today in Detroit, it's a 48-42 win for the Bills. He went 23 for 34, 362 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 122.4. He chipped in 68 rushing yards on 11 carries on the ground for 2 touchdowns and a long of 21. So, look, this is going to be a race. I think it went from Josh being the universal front runner entering the weekend to it now getting more interesting and it being far from over. Those are my thoughts on it. I still think that it's absolutely Josh's award to lose right now. I can appreciate Bryant and his thoughts on where they stack up against one another, statistically speaking, but knowing that voter fatigue exists and also knowing what the Bills are doing right now, full body of work-wise, where they stand in the AFC playoff picture, and prior to Amari Cooper coming, what they were doing in the absence of Stephon Diggs, having lost him to that trade in the offseason. I think that all goes in Josh's favor. Again, I still think that there is more time to be determined. This is still up in the air in terms of where this award ultimately goes, but obviously Lamar's got bigger fish to fry, and we all know what that fish looks like. Tonight is brought to you by my friends at Primary Residential Mortgage, and I should say Preston Automotive Group. Those are my two sponsors, Primary and Preston, have been with me for well over a year now. And at Preston, Bobby Baltimore subscribers receive 2 exclusive offers. One, $500 towards a new or pre-owned vehicle, or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. And if you go to the site that's included in the show notes, or as you can see right now as a pinned comment in the live chat, it'll take you to my specific landing page. You can contact their site operator, Nina, 24/7. You can easily, those are the deals that I just told you about right here as well, that'll give you a reminder. You can contact them easily by filling out this form. And then my favorite thing to do, or at least it was when I was in the market for a vehicle, and I've been driving around in my Bobby Baltimore Bronco for the last 14 months or so, but you can search their available inventory and break things down by make, model, keyword, price, vehicle condition, year, make, so on and so forth. So it's super helpful. Go check it out if you haven't already done so. You can find the link that's included in the show notes, or like I mentioned, it's also a pinned comment in the live chat. It helps me out immensely if you are interested in the car industry to click on that link. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to shop from. Home delivery is available. You'd be joining the Preston team along with Kyle Hamilton, Mark Andrews, myself as a brand ambassador, and many more throughout Baltimore and beyond. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com, or just simply scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, which is there right now. Thank you to Preston for their continued support and the belief in what I'm building here inside the channel. Over 600 of you joining me concurrently right now. The guest lines are open. I'll get to those in just a bit, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about number 7, who's already got 7 touchdowns on the year. By the way, Rashad Bateman had 4 in the previous years, in his previous 3 years. He's got 7 through now 14 games, one of which was a 49-yard hookup with Lamar Jackson. He has 7 touchdowns, like I mentioned, and Jeff noted right here, as I just did, just to check my math, though, he had 4 total over his first 3 NFL seasons. The Ravens extended him this offseason. It came as a surprise to him. I think it came as a surprise to a lot of us. They declined his 5th-year option. He's a former first-rounder out of Minnesota, and he is having a career year for this team, and he's playing freely. And when you listen to him, it's hard not to think that this guy's headspace isn't in a great area. Listen to him post-game tonight.
I think I've shown myself that I am what I say I am. And, hopefully that I've showed the Ravens fans, this organization, Coach Harbs, Monk, whoever, that I am a playmaker. Earning Lamar's trust, teammates' trust, it's been big.
Man, I'm genuinely happy for this guy. I had a lot of questions about him in the offseason. Today, he finishes with 3 receptions for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's his first multi-touchdown performance of his career, and you heard him there. I've shown myself that I am what I say I am. Hopefully, I've shown the Ravens fans, this organization, Coach Harbs, Todd Monken, that I am a playmaker. Earning Lamar's trust, my teammates' trust, it's been big. And so far this year, not only does he have 7 touchdowns, but 654 yards receiving to go along with those 7 touchdowns, and he's played 14 games so far. Listen, this is big play bait. Big play bait has become a reliable playmaker. I know he's had some head-scratching drops, but tonight you saw a little bit of everything. You saw some silky route running. You saw filthy cutting, leaving DBs in the dust. You saw yards after the catch, a little bit of shake and bake on that 49-yarder to get into the end zone. This is a guy who's playing confidently. He has 3 receiving touchdowns this season of 40-plus yards. The only player with more, and the Ravens have a lot to do with this, is Ja'Marr Chase, because of course it's Ja'Marr Chase. But the big picture here is, especially in wake of what's taken place in recent weeks with Deontay Johnson, is that Rashad Bateman has emerged as a legitimate number 2. Today, he was a number 1. He led the way with a team high 80 yards receiving. In terms of catches, Zay Flowers had a team high 6 for 53. Justice Hill had 5 for 61, including that touchdown where literally there was all kinds of daylight. But you're looking at a player who's evolving, who's maturing, and who absolutely is playing an integral role for this organization right now. And that, to me, lightens the significance of what's taken place with Deontay Johnson. To me, DJ, anything he can provide for you from here on out, and we all remember, maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but if you haven't, Mike Garafolo of NFL Network reporting pregame today that Deontay is expected to rejoin the team tomorrow, meaning his suspension will have been fulfilled. And unlike Devondre Campbell in San Francisco, who, yes, is still a 49er, but probably has played his last down, I think the Ravens are going to try and retain him. You hope that it's not a distraction internally. But the bottom line is anything he gives you from here on out is gravy if you're Deontay Johnson. I know some of you want him to eat the snaps of and the target share of Nelly and Tylen, but and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I hope they take a careful calculation and evaluate what Deontay's reputation is internally, because you cannot afford to potentially ruin a run here. And if this team gets hot over the next month or so, and you've got selfishness on the sideline, because that's what that was. Make no mistake about it. During the Philadelphia game, that was selfishness. Now, I don't know if there was miscommunication going on in terms of what his role was going to be after he was acquired at the deadline, but I don't care. He's been around a long time. He's a veteran. His track record is spotty when it comes to the way that he's left certain teams. I think a lot of people in Pittsburgh weren't pleased about how his tenure ended with the Steelers. But the bottom line is Rashad Bateman is playing complimentary football for this team, and it was a historic day for one of his teammates. Mark Andrews now stands alone. He passed the great Jamal Lewis for most touchdowns scored with 48 in Ravens franchise history. Congratulations to number 89. He continues to stack. And I loved Lamar's quote post-game. He said, quote, "Man, like I said, I got a guy with me. That's a guy right there. One of the GOATs to play football ever. He got injured last year, came back, and people were talking about, man, we need to trade Mark. I didn't forget that, and I know he didn't forget that." And after a very slow start for Mark, don't look now. He has scored at least one touchdown in 8 of the last 9 games. He's playing great football. His numbers were modest, but it was a historic day organizationally wise, historically wise, for number 89. Mark finishes with 2 receptions for 24 yards, a touchdown. He was targeted twice and had a long of 13. But Mark, selfless. There's a selflessness to Mark Andrews that I can't get enough of. And I know a lot of you agree. Thank you guys for being with me tonight. Over 700 of you, close to 800 concurrently watching. We've got Sunday Night Football going on in Seattle right now, and the Packers are pounding it on the Seahawks early here. Of course, Philadelphia takes care of business, as we discussed off the top, which means the Ravens and Steelers, just one game separates them for the division right now. Pittsburgh leads the way. They can take the division with a win at home coming up on Saturday. The Ravens can take a great step forward to remaining in the fight for the division with a win on Saturday. And how about the Rook? How about Devontae Walker with a little coming out party, at least for his first catch, which goes down as his first NFL touchdown as well. And it was a toe-tapping beauty. I mean, this thing was a beautiful ball by Lamar. It was his 4th touchdown pass of the day at the time. But for Devontae, remember, this is a young player out of UNC who had an eligibility issue last year, which sidelined him for the first half of his season. He then comes back and lights it up for the Tar Heels. The Ravens draft him in the 4th round. Coming into the afternoon, he was inactive for 8 games this year and only logged 6 offensive snaps. He was mostly special teams. And I'm not going to sit here and overreact. I don't think we're going to see much of Tez down the stretch on offense, if at all. But this, if nothing else, is a confidence builder. He put it on tape, and let's see what Devontae can do and develop as over the coming years in Baltimore on that rookie deal. A beautiful little toe tap, great concentration from 81. And by the way, if we're talking special teams and talking full body of work, he had a tremendous shoestring tackle on special teams. That's the type of stuff that's going to give him opportunities as you move forward. Defensively speaking, this was the graphic that I showed earlier. And while this isn't updated through week 15, the Ravens continue to take steps in the right direction defensively to kind of give you some hope that they're rounding into form. Weeks 11 through 14, they have taken significant steps forward, and these numbers will help and go in the right direction as well after today. It's not saying much because of the Giants' offense and how deplorable it is. But look at these groups. Look at these categories. They've improved in every single category compared to the first 10 weeks of the season. They jumped from 27th to 2nd in total yards per game. They jumped from 27th to 1st in yards per play. Again, these are all defensive rankings. They jumped from last to 2nd in passing yards per game allowed. And they jumped from 30th to tied for 4th on third down. This is a group that slowly but surely is starting to stack games for Zach Orr. Look at the net passing yards allowed the past 4 games. Again, I know it's Tim Boyle and Tommy DeVito for the Giants. I get it. But look at the previous ones with Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson. 192.5 net passing yards allowed over the last 4 weeks. That's going to put you in great position to win a lot of football games. And we know the number 1 ranked rushing defense and what they're all about. 106.5 net rushing yards allowed over the last 4 weeks. 55 today. 166 to Saquon and company. 83 to the Chargers and 122 to the Steelers. That'll be a key, of course, coming up on Saturday as well. And we will have an update on TJ Watt, who got banged up earlier today as well. But these are the numbers right here that are encouraging. I don't want to overreact to these numbers because it is only 4 weeks versus the previous sample size, which was 10. But make no mistake about it, there have been several adjustments made by this coaching staff that I think deserve some attention. Most notably on the back end. Benching Marcus weeks ago now, cutting Eddie Jackson, and really leaning on Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington. That has paid dividends. You're getting healthy. Michael Pierce is back off IR. He is your run stuffer specialist. He is back in the interior part of that defensive line. Kyle Van Noy looks to be healthy, closing in on a career high in sacks. He's got 9. He picked up his 9th earlier today, which is ties a career high, which is what he set last year. He continues to sip from the fountain of youth. And don't look now, but Trenton Simpson may very well have been demoted at inside linebacker. Roquan Smith, his running mates were a rotation of guys, Malik Harrison and Chris Board. And I think that combined with the changes on the back end has really put him in a position for success. These are the types of changes that have to be a part of the conversation when you evaluate the new look Ravens defense just over the last month or so that are starting to put this team in a lot better positions. And today, statistically, I get it. It's the Giants, but they were dominant today. Just 236 yards total allowed to New York. The Giants were 2 for 12 on third down and had a whole lot of issues just moving the ball. We all understand that. That didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Tank Bromansky, I appreciate the super chat. You're right. Lamar's going to run all over the Steelers. Best believe. Also, would you get a pizza or a burger for a Ravens victory dinner? Well, in honor of the opponent that they just beat, it has to be pizza. Appreciate it, Tank. Megalodon writes, can we all agree with Saquon taken out of the equation, Lamar is having a better season than Allen? I don't care about records. That's no debate. His statistics are off the charts. I shared that graphic earlier on. He is literally boat racing, to use today's analogy. He is literally boat racing his previous self. Look at the numbers. Are you serious? So yeah, there is no debate that he's having a better season. It's just, okay, how much is voter fatigue going to come into play? And how much is this specific win-loss record and the way the Bills are winning games in wake of Stephon Diggs' absence. There were a lot of questions about what the Bills would be without Stephon. Well, clearly, those questions have been answered. But look at this. He's got over 3,500 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, 3 picks, over 740 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. He's 2 touchdown passes away from tying his career high. And guys, they got 3 more regular season games to go. Pittsburgh, Houston, and Cleveland. So statistically speaking, it literally isn't even a part of the conversation. It's going to be really interesting down the stretch to see just how good this gets, just how compelling this MVP race gets as the going gets tough. And we are smack dab in the middle of December football right now, and Roquan Smith knows what's on deck. He was quoted for saying post-game regarding the Steelers, "We know what's on the line. It's the division title. You're willing to put everything on the line for that. I know personally I'm ready to go out on my shield. Check your manhood. Do your job. You do that, we'll win the game." Ravens Steelers, round 2. We know the self-inflicted nature with which the Ravens lost the first time around, something that's become all too common for them this year. What's going to be really something to watch in the coming days is TJ Watt, who has a low ankle injury, according to Mike Tomlin. Now, am I concerned for his health? It's TJ Watt. He'd play with a broken ankle if it were Ravens Steelers. Let's be honest. This dude's a problem, and I'm expecting him to suit up without question. If the Ravens want a chance to beat the Steelers, and of course they'll have a chance, but if they want to put themselves in the best position to beat the Steelers, they have got to clean up what has become plaguing week in and week out for this team. And that is the lack of discipline. They are the most penalized team league-wide. They were going into today, and they certainly still are. Coming into today, they had been penalized 105 times, which had negated 885 yards by penalty. Tack on another 112 yards today and 12 total penalties, the most of which, by the way, came from the defensive side of the ball. And man, oh man, a guy who had a couple of them, and unfortunately for his sake, we have grown accustomed this year to just kind of assuming that Brandon is going to be a penalized player, and that is B. Steve, who is in the middle of a contract year, and it's been disastrous. A couple more defensive pass interferences today, one of which was ticky-tack, but again, he's putting himself in really tough situations from a technique standpoint. And the CBS broadcast booth, which was compiled of a couple former players in Tiki Barber and Jason McCourty, put him on notice. Tiki wrote, "Tim Boyle intentionally throws this on the back shoulder because he knows that Brandon Stevens has no idea where the ball is." That's a direct quote. Jason McCourty, quote, "He's panicking. It's panicking at the point of attack, which is holding him back today." Guys, I really take no pride or enjoyment in this because I really like Brandon, and he had a hell of a year for them, and he's done so much asked of him. He's a former college running back. He was drafted to be a safety. He's done a lot. But technique-wise, he's not improving. He can't track the ball consistently, and it's really putting the Ravens in difficult positions. It really is. It wasn't a problem today with the ultimate outcome. It certainly was a problem in game and kept the Ravens defense on the field longer than it needed to be. But the reality is, we've seen this come and rear its ugly head against the elite number 1 wide receivers. And while it's not necessarily a murderer's row end of the year, it will be come January when this team is poised to make a run. And I just have this sense that if you continue to give Brandon the role in which he's playing, it's going to come back to bite you. Use Tre'Davious White. Use your depth in the secondary. You have to. You've made so many other adjustments. Why not start to diminish playing time a little bit for Brandon? I get it. He's a great dude. And he had a heck of a year last season. But he's at the point where he's become a liability. And I think the Ravens should take a close look at that over the next few weeks as they gear up for their postseason run. As far as the one touchdown drive, I mean, there were two of them, but the first of two touchdown drives, I mean, they had 4 defensive penalties alone. Christmas came early for the Giants. Marlon Humphrey had a defensive holding. Nnamdi Madubuike was called for roughing the passer. B. Steve had the DPI that I referenced. Adafe Owe, an illegal use of hands. It's not just B. Steve that's racking up the penalties. Madubuike has now been flagged 6 times this season. He's got 4 roughing calls, 1 face mask, which was bullshit, and 1 encroachment. So it's not the same guys all the time. It's an area that continues to be self-inflicting and backbreaking for the Ravens in all 3 phases. Now, special teams, I thought there was a lot to like from a special teams perspective today. Yeah, Justice Hill, who started the game with a 59-yard return, the longest of the season for the Ravens. He continues to be an unsung guy. So impactful, especially in the screen game. He's so decisive with his cuts. He's got great bursts, great acceleration. It looks like Desmond King may have stolen Tylan Wallace's punt return role. I don't know if that was just an experimental thing today, but Desmond looked good. At one point, took it out to the Giants 32 after a 3-and-out. This was a big one. Jordan Stout looks to be now handling kickoff duties. That's notable. He was booming the ball. Several touchbacks. That's typically handled by Justin. Perhaps that's an area that they're asking Justin to cut back on. No field goals attempted by Justin today. It was that kind of game. But he hit all of his extra points, and that's progress for Justin. Hopefully he had a good and impactful bye week. Those were a few of my notes on special teams. I thought Nate Wiggins continues to be fearless. Leaned into that Malik Neighbors assignment. That was really their only playmaker that you had to worry about. You take care of him, the Giants really become one-dimensional, if that. They're really not even one-dimensional. They cannot get up and down the field. And they had 2 quarterbacks play, like I mentioned, DeVito and Tim Boyle. Ardarius Washington got a pick. He didn't travel initially with the team on Saturday. I don't know what's going on. It was a personal matter. I hope he's doing all right. Just a 5'8", $180, plays like he's so much bigger than that. Ton of heart. Like I mentioned, Trenton Simpson does not appear to be in the rotation anymore. I wonder if that's going to be a permanent thing and just how much work that was putting on Roquan's plate. Let's open up the guest lines. Would love to get your thoughts tonight, guys. There's over 900 of you joining me concurrently right now across all platforms. So good to be with you. Hope you and yours are having an awesome holiday season. I would love for you to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Join the Bobby Baltimore Discord server. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports, and you can join for free by clicking on the link that's included in the show notes below. Let's go down to Mexico City. He thinks he's the interim coach. I may have named him the interim coach already, to be honest with you, but it remains to be seen whether or not he's fully embracing it. He does have a playbook off the side. I don't know if it was used today at all. I'm not sure who drew up that 4th and 1 decision in the first quarter, but I got to say, there were a lot of why are people so quick to like almost angrily tweet and get emotional with a decision that was totally sensible by John Harbaugh. It made complete sense to me. This was a team that could not manufacture points, that could not get up and down the field. And so John Harbaugh in the first quarter, 4th and 1 at midfield, he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to, excuse my French, I'm just going to go punt it. I'm going to pin him inside the 10. It wasn't a great punt by Jordan Stout, but I'm going to go trust my defense. And it paid off for them. So there was just immediate outrage. And I'm thinking to myself, he's one of the most aggressive coaches in the entire league. Why is there outrage? I don't understand it. Winstones Chronicles, appreciate the super chat. Justice Hill is indeed a beast. Today, statistically wise, he finishes with 5 catches for 61 yards, 2 for 7 on the ground, but he just continues to be a dual threat guy for you, both on the ground, through the air. Really, really lethal in the screen game. The acceleration, the burst, very impressive. And then, of course, that 59-yard return, pretty nice. Very nice. Sorry for the F-bomb, Dre. That's my fault there. Manny, good to see you, brother. Talk to me about the game. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Snooze fest. It's a snooze fest.
I was disappointed because, to be honest, take away the penalties. We should have shut them out.
40 burger, you take those away probably.
Yeah, it was like, and the Lamar, fumble. It wasn't a fumble. They just made it a great play on defense. So I'm not blaming Lamar or the offense. It's just a great play on that one. But on the two other drives that we didn't score, that we just punted, it was like you left points off the board, and
Yep.
the defense needs to clean up all those penalties. Yes, that one on Brandon Stevens, that was tiki tack. I was like, okay, but if you know that the wide receivers also tug or push or bar extend, it's like you shouldn't call it. But
Plus, the benefit of doubt when you're as penalized as he is, and you are lacking technique consistently the way he is, to the point where McCourty had done his film study and was straight up, and he along with Tiki, wow, like yeah, Tim Boyle of course is throwing back shoulder because he knows that he's in no man's land. So you're not going to get the benefit of doubt there whatsoever, even if it is ticky tack. That's the unfortunate reality that Brandon's in now because of the season.
Yeah, and I think he might be good, but right now he's hurting. He's hurting us a lot. So I would put in Tre'Davious White. Who's the other corner that we brought in?
Desmond King is there, but I don't think that's a viable option.
No, I think Desmond just proved that he's a better returner than Tylen. Then sadly, but Tylen is better at wide receiver. Each time that he catches the ball, he's wanting to sprint out. So I think for wide receiver, Tylen and Desmond just returning punts and kicks, it seems that he is built for that role. TJ Tampa. Yeah, put in TJ Tampa money. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't activate him, or they didn't.
No, but if you know that Stevens is getting penalized each time they target him, even if it's just great coverage, he didn't do anything wrong, but I'm the ref and I see that he's always flagged, even though he didn't commit anything, just flag.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's something that it goes on the other games. So I understand it might hurt his confidence, but you got to tell him, hey, you're not playing this game as a starter, maybe as a reserve. We need to test our other guys. It's not to hurt your confidence, but it's just we need to secure this win. And right now, they seem to be targeting you a lot because of that lack of technique.
Just so everybody's clear, TJ is still in the middle of his activation window. So he was not activated for the game. He is still within his injured reserve activation window, which is a 3-week, 21-day timeline. He's the rookie out of Iowa State. So, Manny, appreciate the call, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, Bobby.
Thanks, my man. Let's get Jewel in here. Let's all give my guy Jewel a little bit of love here as well, who lost his grandmother earlier today. Prayers, first and foremost, my guy. I'm sure you are all over the place today emotionally, but hopefully we can take care of you a little bit over the next minute or so. How are you doing, first and foremost? How's your family?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Bobby. Actually, I got the news Friday, honestly, but I didn't know if it was true because my father, he was texting me. He was at the hospital, and so I was kind of in the dark about it. And then I talked to him today, like literally when I was coming from Walgreens and I was walking, and he called me. He said, "Yeah, grandma's gone. She transitioned." It's his word. So it was a lot to take in. I missed like first half of the game, so like I watched the game to try to take my mind off, but it was like it was just one of those type of things where I just like, oh, grandma's gone. Now I lost. The crazy thing is, Bobby, I lost my other grandmother a couple years ago. She was like super great. This grandmother that I lost is on my father's side. She's half Trinidadian, half American. So Morley Trinidadian. She's from Trinidad. So I had plans on seeing her sooner, but it was just like work was killing me, and I was just like, oh, I need to go see her. And then get the news that she didn't make it, it was just like, you know,
Gutting.
one of
Yeah,
those.
dude, I know it, man.
Yeah,
Grandparents are a irreplaceable part of life, and to be as old as you are and have still had at least one grandparent around,
yeah.
that's a blessing. That's a blessing. I honestly,
Hmm.
whenever I meet, and I'm 30, whenever I meet somebody who is anywhere near me in age that is still lucky enough to have a grandparent around and in their
Hmm.
lives, I always just have to blurt out that what a blessing, what a blessing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm just gonna find out when the funeral is and everything. But other than that, I'll say the Ravens made me feel a little bit better today. When they
good.
saw it, and that put a little smile on my face to get my mind off of what happened. But it's still on my mind. But I love what the Ravens did today. Winning by the way they did. Having said all that, let's talk about the game. Um, so I did like what they did today. I mean, we expected it. We expected the spread. We expected how they were supposed to win. How they started, which I didn't see the first half. I know it was a fumble. Um, Not as crisp as I thought it would be. All that, but I guess they turned it around afterwards. Did not like the penalties. What was it? 12 for what? 100 and
One
something.
12 for 120, 12 for 112.
Yikes, yikes. You would think that they will fix some of that during the bye, but I'm at a point where it's unfixable. If you're still struggling with that area, that aspect, it's unfixable. Only way they're going to be able to fix it is themselves if they stay disciplined. But it still comes down to coaching, at the end of the day.
I
So
tend to agree because it doesn't even matter the opponent, right? It's not like, oh, it just happens when they're playing down to competition. No, it happens in every kind of game that they've been in.
yeah,
And they are literally dead last in both categories, committed
right,
and yards negated.
right, yeah, and it just it worries me when it comes to the playoffs. That stuff is going to come back and haunt you if you don't get that
Yeah.
corrected when you get into the playoffs. 'Cause make no mistake about it, they're going to get there. It's just a matter of how you're going to play your game completely against teams that are, going to throw the ball against you, like the stuff with Brandon Stevens. Like again, we had the issue with him not turning his head. Well, he's turning his head, but he's doing too much grabbing. It's a technique issue. It's like he's playing scared. Like he's forgotten what made him good last year, and it hasn't integrated this year. So what do they bench him, which I believe is going to probably happen. But then again, knowing Harbaugh, he probably will stick by him. I wouldn't do that because teams are going to go after him. They're going to be like, all right, where's 21? Get him because he's going to commit penalties because he's not what he used to be last year. Last year, you wouldn't even throw his way because he was just shutting the whole field down. This year, it's not the same case. And him going into his contract year, you're thinking, okay, big step up year, but it hasn't transitioned that way. He's probably one of the worst cornerbacks on probably in PFF or the league or whatever. So
The concern
I want,
is if you
yeah,
turn to Tre'Davious White, which would make most sense because he'd be your next guy up, is
yeah,
Tre'Davious really ready to log that kind of snap count at this
mm,
point? Because that was part of his issue in LA.
yeah,
They were in a tight situation depth wise and called
hmm,
upon him too early, and he's only however many months removed from last year's season-ending injury, and
yeah,
he's up there in age. He's been around for a while. So do
yeah,
you want to rely on a veteran? Because look, nobody questions Brandon's athleticism.
yeah,
If you'll notice, he's never out of position. It's the technique within said position,
yeah,
right? He'll run with you stride for stride. He'll be blanketed to you. It's
yeah,
just the ball awareness, spatial
hmm,
awareness, and the head turn is not consistently in line with where the football is. So his sight and his vision are always off. His athleticism is off the charts. This is a dude who's successfully transitioned from running
hmm,
back to DB. So
exactly,
so it's tough. Like if you're gonna do that, you're gonna be relying heavily on a veteran who may not be capable at this point in his career of logging those kinds of snaps. That's what's concerning. And so if you can start to rotate a little bit, remember, it wasn't all that long ago that we all started to notice Tre'Davious was eating away a little bit at Brandon snaps. I believe it was in the Philadelphia game that we noticed this. And so if you can start to do that and spread the wealth a little bit, that to me feels like it's more sustainable over the course of the next month plus.
Right. That's what I agree. I think they're going to probably rotate him, or they'll probably diminish his role entirely or bump him down and then rotate maybe Nate Wiggins up in that spot, or, I don't know what they're going to do with Marlon. He probably stay at the nickel or something like that. I don't think
He should have had like 2 picks today.
Oh, yeah, he did, man. It was crazy. Marlon is just a ball magnet this year. I would like a little bit more pick sixes. I don't know when that's going to ever come back. I mean, it goes back to the Ed Reed days. I mean, we missed all the pick sixes, but we were spoiled with that. But having said
I was
all
just
that,
glad Ardarius got his.
Yeah, I'm glad Adarius got his, because I'm pretty sure Adarius is going to get more than that. He's going to get a lot more coming his way. His story is just great, man. I mean, we always vouch for the guy. He just has that it factor, and he just has it. He
No doubt.
is a true free safety in my mind.
No
A
doubt.
little bit more play. But I'll just leave it at that, Bobby. I'll see you tomorrow on the vault, and I just want to say thank you to all your well wishes. And thank you everybody in the live chat for wishing me well with my grandmother and everything. I really, really appreciate that in this time. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, man. Hey, do us all a favor and take care of yourself, right? It's holiday season, obviously, and that doesn't make it any easier losing a family member. So lean on us. I know you're not going to miss a show, and we got you, brother. Hang in there, all right?
Absolutely, man. You know I will.
All right. Talk to you soon. You'll be in my prayers tonight for sure. Judah, what's going on, dude? Welcome in, man. Everybody's getting after you in the live chat today. You want to know why, don't you?
Probably because Bateman caught 2 touchdown passes. I mean, it's been
now. Hold on now. Probably because Bateman is having a career year. How about this dude? 80 receiving yards today. He's up to 654 on the season. 7 touchdowns. He had 4 through his previous 3 seasons combined. Look, I'm not here to get after you. Let's just have a conversation about it. But because, look, even me and Sarah had our questions. If you didn't have any questions coming into year 4, you just weren't paying attention. So it's great to be not necessarily proven wrong. It's just this guy is rounded out into form. He's a complimentary wide receiver for them right now. And on a day where Zay is sort of a non-factor, he did have 6 catches for, I think, 50-plus yards. Bates just starting to stack some games here. And you're seeing the full variety, right? The silky route running, the make you miss kind of ability, smooth cutter, smooth operator with the hands in that second touchdown, a little bit of yak ability in the shake and bake on the first touchdown. So, look, this is great, especially given the team-friendly deal that he signed. He's putting up the numbers of somebody who's probably worth more.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, that was always there, the athleticism. He has decent speed. We knew he can make people miss. I mean, the problem was he couldn't catch the ball. So, I mean,
and that has been, and look, let's call it spade a spade. He's had some very puzzling drops this year, right?
Yeah.
A few too many for his liking. But as of late, what have you done for me lately? He's done quite a bit.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. But with that being said, I saw some things I like. I hear a lot of people. I've been watching a lot of different shows, and I hear people still kind of ragging on a defense for whatever reason. And even with the Brandon Stevens situation, like, I get it. We all knew that he doesn't get his head around. And I know he's a liability right now as far as the penalties he's getting. But I'm gonna tell you, I played football my entire life. A coach will live with the cornerback who's blanketed to a receiver every single play if he does have some bonehead mistake sometimes. It's more important that, I mean, what I'm saying is, to a coach, it's how when he's weighing the pros and the cons, and a cornerback that can stay blanketed to a receiver is a heaven sent. Most cornerbacks can't stay blanketed at all. Not only that, we have a guy in Brandon Stevens where he's actually known to do this consistently. Now, I'm not excusing, his mishaps, but I mean, I don't look for him to get benched anytime soon if he's blanketing receivers consistently the way he's always did his entire career.
Well, that's what I was just kind of getting at a minute ago, right? It's never his positioning. It's just consistently his technique, and it kills you because he's doing the hard part, right? The hard part is staying tight, is staying blanketed. That's never been an issue for him. His athleticism has always been a calling card, but here we are, whether it's Malik Neighbors or Devontae in week 2 against Vegas or Jamar Chase, there's just been far too many gaffes, far too many big plays solely based on that technique. So, hey, you hope that he can get that thing shored up. And if not, they're going to be in a little bit of a predicament here because of what we just discussed about the amount of miles that Tre'Davious has on his tires. I think if you want to use him right now, you use Tre'Davious sparingly. You use him wisely, and that is in a rotation. I don't want to necessarily see him log in snaps that's equivalent to a 24, 25-year-old starting cornerback. That, to me, is probably not a recipe for consistent longevity and success down the next stretch.
Right. Can I say one thing before I get off? I do want to bring this up, and I'm glad you brought up the Bateman thing, right? Bateman is playing well, but I just want to point out the fact that I've been saying this all season that Tez Walker got in the game, and in his very first catch in the NFL, he did exactly what anybody with common sense would have said he would have did reading the scouting report. He got behind the defense. This guy was drafted here because he's able to consistently take the top off of a defense. And I'm telling you, if we get this guy on the field more and he's a vertical threat where other teams understand he's a vertical threat, it's going to open this offense up to a level we haven't seen before ever in the Lamar Jackson era.
Yeah, I think two things could be true. It was a beautiful play, fantastic effort, beautiful toe tap, great speed to your point. And then the second part of that is the Giants defense. I think it needs to be taken with a grain of salt. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of Tez down the stretch. But as Kadri and I were texting about earlier today, that's the type of stuff. That's the type of big playability that you put out on tape. Maybe it makes a little pause in the locker room, gives you an next opportunity at some point down the stretch. Today was the perfect game to get him involved, and I'm glad they did. And I mentioned, too, he had a beautiful shoestring tackle on special teams as well, and that goes a long way in John Harbaugh's mind. So, Judah, appreciate the call, brother. Hope everything's well with you. Later. Chef, what's up, dude? How you doing, brother?
Man, nothing much, Bobby. Nothing much. Enjoying the win and everything. As much as one can. It is the Giants, but I just want to talk about the Lamar runs and stuff like that. It almost seems as if like the offense isn't expecting Lamar to run just as much as the defense wasn't. You got what's his name? Zay Flowers on that first drive. Not even engaged in his block. Not even.
What the hell was that? Yeah.
Not even trying.
Dude, he had no clue that Lamar was behind him. No clue.
Maybe that was one of those things where it was more of an intentional carry for Derrick Henry, and Lamar just pulled it because he's done those in the past, but usually he gives some kind of heads up to where, maybe Ronnie Stanley would go pulling if he's going off to the left side or something like that. But that just kind of it blew my mind. And then I believe it was that subsequent next drive where Derrick Henry didn't hold his block. So that defender, I believe that linebacker shot through, that open running lane that Lamar had, and it went down as a sack. So it's just, it's just miscues that just keep happening.
Yep. I'm with you. It was I thought the run blocking left some to be desired today. And then of course, Lamar just kind of makes up for it, taking a lot of those chunk plays that were there all day long. All day long. I mean, it's just funny that comes right after the whole like post-game speech about what his mother told them, because how easy was it for the narrative to become, oh my God, wow, Felicia talks and he listens. Well, we'll see if that continues outside the Giants game. We'll see if that continues on Saturday. How about that? Because that's the problem. That's the issue.
I think another big thing would be Bateman in that upcoming game against the Steelers. I think Bateman he's gonna be pivotal in that game.
Yeah,
I know they're gonna try and take Mark Andrews away because Mark Andrews is back.
And they successfully have done that throughout their entire time in the head-to-heads with him.
But I mean, they're gonna try to take Mark Andrews away. They're absolutely gonna try and take away Zay Flowers. Zay
Yeah.
Flowers, when just in like that first stretch when we were playing, he was putting that defense on skates. Just with the
The
routes he was running, the way he was getting open, the separation, and everything.
the
Putting that
ultimate
defense
plot
on
twist,
skates.
the ultimate plot twist would be going back to Deontay. Like, he's going to be available this week, and based on reporting from earlier today, like, they're keeping him. And this is his former team, and they were force feeding him, if you remember, early in that game the first time around. Do not be surprised if the ultimate plot twist happens and Deontay is a part of the game plan.
It's almost tough to think about because
I know.
you know how in training camp and everything you have Jeff Zarebic and all the other reporters and stuff doing like the stock up, stock down.
Yeah.
I almost feel like with Tessa Walker, granted, it was, his one catch, but it was a touchdown. And I mean, he ran everything that he needed to do with the nuances of the route, the depth, the cut, selling it, and everything. I mean, you have Thailand playing well. Nelly made a damn good catch. He made a
He
damn good
did. He
catch.
did. And he
He
took
made a
himself
damn
out. I
good
mean, he
catch.
got absolutely hammered on the turf there. I mean,
Yeah.
that looked like it. That looked dangerous. And
So,
yeah,
I mean,
he reels that thing in. He's had a couple of those this year.
but I mean, you get what I'm saying, where it's like you got all these players who coming off of a bye, playing well. Again, it is against the Giants, the New Jersey Giants. No offense, Bobby, but the New Jersey Giants.
Uh-huh.
But you got all these players playing well, coming off a bye, and Deontay was sitting at home. It's hard to look at this not as a stock down for Deontay and stock up for Devontae Walker. Tylan Wallace was out there. He
Oh,
probably
no
could have broke
question.
free for another one if he didn't get wrapped up with a shoestring tackle.
Yes. Yeah, he was. You could just tell he knew that it was daylight if you could get past that first defender. But yeah, I hear you. I do hear you. We've seen stranger things with this organization. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but it sure seems as if starting tomorrow, when that suspension's been fulfilled, Deontay is going to be back in that building and become an option for him. So, Chef, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for calling in, man.
Of course.
Catch up with you soon. Over 900 of you joining me concurrently here tonight. Great audience. Antonio says, my next question for Bateman is, can he do against the elite? Remember, 0 for 3 catches versus Philly, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City. Give him more targets, and the offense is unstoppable. He's earned the opportunity for more targets. I don't think there's any question about that. And there's no question that Saturday means everything. If you want the division, you have to win. It's a must win for the division coming up on Saturday. If Pittsburgh wins, the Steelers take the AFC North and the regular season series. So that's what's still to come. Guys, I would love for you to join the Bobby Baltimore Discord server if you haven't already done so. It is my 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. How many do we have in here at this point? I don't even know. But if you'd like to join, it is free to do so. You can click on the link that's included in the show notes, or let's do this. I'll just grab the invite link right now and drop it into the live chat. Again, it's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. It's a great group. It is free to join, and I would love for you to support the channel in different ways than maybe what you're used to. You've got different categories where we talk just general football, baseball, of course, which is primarily Orioles, and general, which can be anything from hockey to my love life. So there you have it. It's a little bit of everything. I'm sure some of you are wondering what the DC scene was like for me on Friday. Guess you're going to have to stick around and come to the vault tomorrow, because I know Sarah's got some questions on it for sure. Don't know if there's going to be a second date, but I enjoyed it. And we went to this unbelievable Korean restaurant, by the way, that Evan, if Evan's tuning in, Evan Burstein recommended it. Unbelievable. It's called Anju. in DuPont Circle. This place was, I had a couple soul fashions, they call them, like old fashions. And then bibimbap, if that's how you pronounce it. I should know this because I lived in Korea for a month. But tremendous time. We'll see what comes of it. All right, guys. I appreciate you for being here as always. All 900 plus of you concurrently watching. If you could do me a favor on the way out and please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. Sarah and I will be back, of course, 12 noon Eastern for our Monday Ravens lunch hour live stream. You know the drill. It's going to be a busy, busy week and a quick one with a short week looming for Saturday's game in Baltimore. I will have pregame coverage from the Be More Around Town tailgate. You can still get your tailgate passes at bemorearoundtown.com. I would love for you to join me for that. Chris, thank you for joining me for all 3 lives today. Hope you guys are having an awesome holiday season. Enjoy Sunday Night Football. Green Bay's got a stranglehold right now on Seattle in Seahawks country. There's Mike Mack. Gotta love Mike. He's still so young. He is the youngest head coach, and he looks like he's the youngest head coach. So anyway, for the Ravens, 9-5 now through 15 weeks, excuse me. And of course, a big one looming on Saturday. Week 16, it's the Ravens and the Steelers. Big ramifications for the AFC North. I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Have an awesome night. And until